Hi, I'm going to talk about the number 5. The number 5 is really special because it gets a little bit weird maybe at first if you think about it, but I promise you it'll all fall into place and fit. I call it the Charlie Company. And that's the idea that everything on Earth fits in one perfect exact way, and it's the way we already know and already that it exists as. But in order for you to realize this, you must realize that it ever had to be conceptualized as existing once in order for it to have ever made sense to any human being that could ever existed, because we all have, sentient minds. But anyway, this idea is that all the things that exist somehow do exist, and everything does exist for a reason, because that's why it exists, that's how it exists, and that's why it's able to exist on Earth, where we live. The next thing to keep in mind is the idea that all things are somehow able to be conceptualized as being reasonable, I guess you could say, that they exist because they all have a purpose for existing and they all have a reason to exist. So because of the need or necessity of them, they exist. And this just gets simply, if you think about this on the basic level, into products. People make products for the simplest reason on Earth. And when you come right down to it, it's just a matter of literally manufacturing construction on Earth. Construction of buildings, and manufacturing of goods for people on Earth to buy. With money they have on Earth, which is a concept that was already theorized by Adam Smith. I almost got confused with President John Adams. And it's essentially just how the world exchanges goods for services, which is how you get money is by working, right, at a job. So that's, and all other theoretical concepts about the human race do hold true entirely to the exact point in which they do actually function exactly as they do on Earth, including Charles Schwab Bank, which is a bank oddly sounding similar to Charlie Company. But anyway, I'll just say that nothing is ever weird if you don't try to make it weird. Everything is simply just in place. If someone ever tries to tell you something, you can always do that thing where you go, really? And it just, it's one of the things that human beings just get as a result of being a part of, the same experience, which is the human experience of being a human in the human race. Anyway, that having been said, the next thing I'll have to say is that as new people pitch new ideas for new directions to take our quote company in, if we're all a human race as well, but one big Charlie Company, I would say that as one metaphorical Shark Tank, possibly not employee, but I could say employee because maybe they pay me for it. I'd love to be on that show and get paid for being a Shark Tank person. I would definitely give them my feedback, and if I don't like the idea, I'd shoot it down right there and say, no thanks, sorry sir, you can't. We don't like that idea. So come back with something better. But anyway, that's essentially how business works on Earth. That's essentially how companies fail to succeed, and that's essentially how people end up making money, and how stocks and bonds and futures and that kind of stuff ends up making a company more valuable or less valuable based on its purpose, its direction, its mission statement. But I guess the main thing is the mission objective of the company, what they hope to achieve in business, and then it gets into shareholders and stockholders and what they do to achieve that mission, right? So anyway, that's a brief overview of how that applies to our world. And then it gets into what you view in ethics, and that's like a term that I'm kind of allergic to because I'm more into morals. But maybe if you talk to a female in a feminine role, she can talk to you about if it's okay. I know if you should, based on her ethics, if you should donate some of your money to a charity or something, or give it to a hungry child in Africa. Because my world is like, if you want money, if you want food, you got to work. Like because that's what jobs are for. Like this is America. Like if you want to eat food, you got to go get a job. You got to work. You got to get that money, and you got to put that bread on the table for your family. But I guess in her world, she's like, no, yada yada girl stuff. Anyway, that's why a family dynamic needs a wife to balance out the respective husband, but like a male role or a masculine role in the family. So anyway, I think of other things that are related to this kind of thought concept in history, and maybe that's the idea that you only live once is a good idea. So two things to keep in mind with this. One, you shouldn't place too much emphasis on material possessions because they'll never outweigh the relationships you can have with people, because people are always, in my world, more important than items. It's like if you were on a bus that was on fire, would you save a person who was in the back of the bus, or would you save a CD? Because in my world, it's like I would save the kid, but that's just my morality because I value human life above all else. But that's just how I view the world. Anyway, I also say that some people place an emphasis on having things. I like the terms feng shui in having a comfortable living space. In my world, I used to browse Reddit, so I'm aware with male living space. So I would just say that I'm comfortable having a male living space, and I'm comfortable with my male living space. But I'm moreover comfortable having a comfortable male living space. So that's why I live here, because I'm comfortable here. And that's why I love it, because I'm comfortable here. So anyway, this is a great place for me, and a great place for me to just live, at least until. Unless if something else should arise and I decide to move somewhere else, like maybe New York City in the future, if I want to pursue a sketch comedy professional goal, or maybe to, I don't know where they filmed Shark Tank from, but maybe there. Maybe it seems like a New York City kind of vibe, but I don't know. I have to check that. Anyway, the other maybe I'll try to make one more point about this, and that's maybe that everything should have a point. Yeah, that's actually a good point to make, right? The point about points. Everything on our object should have a point to its existence, or else it's kind of just an erroneous thing. It's like in Doctor if you try to make needs a thing and said, let's just chop down all the trees on Earth, but just make them something that's not useful to any human being. Someone will go, wait a minute, that's a waste of trees and resources, and we live on Earth, we need those resources, and we like the trees anyway. So why don't you just stop threatening the rainforest? But anyway, that's definitely something important. And when you look at that, then the engineering term, engineering becomes a major factor in the idea of this huge number 5 ideology of Earth. So in engineering analysis, you look for things like use, ease of use for the consumer. Is it comfortable for them? Do they like using it? Is it aesthetically pleasing? And also ergonomics. Is it comfortable to hold? Is it comfortable to use? Easy to interface with the human being's hand, or whatever, however they use it, whatever it is. Maybe it's a hat. Does it fit on their head? It should, right? It should at least be that, not square shaped and made of wood. Is this serve a functional purpose? So much so that it can be said to be novel and file for patentship, and does that have the ability to? Well, that gets more into the technical side, I guess. And I'm not actually a patent lawyer, so I can't tell you, or a patent attorney, or have that knowledge of the patent industry. So I can't tell you much more, but I know that it should. If it's a novel idea, it should. So there's something about it being novel and not just a copy of something else and say, hey, we're gonna take a Bose, but we're just gonna try to just like change it to a Mose. And would you buy that if we just change one letter? They're going, no, someone already did this. You can't just. That's not useful. It's not new. We're not gonna just like give you intellectual property rights to this new idea because it's not something new and different. So it's got to be something that's like useful to society. And the last thing I'll say is it's got to fall under the branches of engineering in order for it to be functionally applicable on Earth. You can't just daydream all day and be like, yo, what if I made just like a flying sandwich? Just like, what if the sandwich could just fly? And at the end of the day, it's like, no, man, come on, you got to be real about this, because like at the end of the day, someone's got to be able to buy this thing somewhere on Earth, if nowhere else, Amazon. So like, at least make it like a reasonable thing for a consumer to purchase. But anyway, also a special shout out to my engineering team. From who I worked with in Mr. Litzinger's engineering class. I remember all these concepts actually from that class. I remember a lot of these concepts from class there. Some of the concepts I was just talking about differently, but the concepts I'm talking about as engineer, I do remember from that class, obviously, because I didn't like study them afterwards. But it was a really good class, and he was one of the best teachers I had in engineering school, because he really just like he really just seemed to communicate the concepts really well. So I learned a lot of his class. I learned really well, I think. The concepts, because I think because he was a good teacher, and because he was a good teacher, I think he was a good teacher. So those are the points that I'm trying to make, and those are the points I'm making. So anyway, also my team, hi. I'm talking about I remember the TKE engineering kit that we made. It was if any of you guys went to Penn State or go to Penn State now, they still do that. It's just an interesting project to spread engineering knowledge to Africa. I don't know if Africa would like engineering as much as we do in the United States of America, because there's a lot of things. I know Germany loves engineering. Maybe Africa would like sports more. Maybe they could become like the sports continent, where they all just like show off their physical prowess, and we can pay them money to just perform sports like we already do with athletes in America. Maybe that'd be like the ideal thing, but I don't know. Anyway, and hey, if it works, right? That's that kind of thing when it gets down to it. You pitch an idea, at some point there's someone on the chain who can either pass it or say no thanks. And if you look at it critically and you analyze it like, objectively, and you're not like biased about it, and if it's a good idea, it should pass, right? In theory. So, I mean, that gets a vote from me, so I'd say, why not? But until then, there's some other things like maybe I should talk to the whole ethics people and see if they can do anything about helping out like the needy and the poor, because if they've done nothing to put themselves into that situation, then maybe they deserve at least a bailout once. Because if we can do it to the rich people who run the banks, maybe someone on Earth can spot can lend a hand to helping out some people who need some help getting their country back on their feet. And then at that point, once they get back to that, to the level where they can sustain themselves, and they can start, performing, contributing in a way that we feel is like, something that's on par with what our expectations are for Earth. So I think that's a cool thing and a cool positive to the idea of helping other people. Also, the idea of getting on the same mindset, on the same wavelength, is definitely a huge thing, because as a result of working towards a common goal on Earth, but maybe this is more talking about the dream team. So I'm going to throw out that term, the dream team, and say that on Earth we all have the dream. I'm saying in general as humans, probably for Earth to be like the dream, the best place it could ever be for all humans. And every person on Earth has a concept of dream. And I think at some point I met this kid named Christian who traveled to Antarctica with some of the smartest people on Earth, some of the highest flyers on Earth. And he talked to me about how being on a common wavelength. And I believe that. And I think that somehow, over all the time that's passed since then, I think all humans have kind of gotten on the same common wavelength. So I think we're all kind of on, at least we kind of know what the American, or what, that was the term, the American dream means, but what it means for Earth. And I think the idea of getting everyone on board with making the American dream happen is kind of the best thing for Earth. So with that being said, I hope people start to put like the short-sighted weaknesses or problems or gripes behind them, and start working towards what we think is most valuable towards helping the bigger picture reach fruition. So if any of you out there are have the position or the ability or to make those big things happen, I encourage you to do so, and I thank you for your support in advance, and I appreciate your contributions to humanity for whatever it is you do that allows you to do such things. So thank you, and that having been said, or for your time, for listening, but thank you for also, well, I don't know, for watching these videos, I guess, and if maybe you get these things conceptually, or I don't know, I'll just say thank you for watching and learning these concepts. I think they'd be valuable for keeping us on point for how we view the human race. But maybe you just get these concepts conceptually, or something is what I was gonna say, but I don't know. Maybe who knows? Anyway, I just want to say that's pretty much the majority of what I view for this Charlie Company, codename Charlie Company, and if you want to know anything more about that, you should maybe talk to other companies, because there's a whole native phonetic alphabet, and I don't know much more about it, but I know Lima is probably a good place to find food, so maybe you should talk to them about that. But other than that, I just gotta say, hope you like to watch my videos, and I got nothing else to say at this point in time except hope you like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because I love that show, and Charlie the Company. Other than being an actor, I'd at least want to see it on Shark Tank. So see you guys, and I'll pitch you number 6 next, so stay tuned.